Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about today. So I'm going to be starting here in roughly about 30, let's do a minute. So we'll do a minute here. This is going to be recorded. So if anyone wants to date back to this, to some information that I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you some pretty, I would say some pretty contextual stuff here for what's going on in the market, what I've seen going on. I'm going to talk to you guys about some positions that I have on, some losses that I've taken, also some winners that I have taken. So we'll be talking about that as soon as the clock strikes 8 o'clock here. So just give it about 30 seconds and then we'll dive right in. Okay, so we just hit 8 o'clock, so here we go. We can start off with this. So first and foremost, well, welcome to the presentation that we have here for YouTube, right? We want to make sure that this is as concise as possible. We're giving you as much information as we possibly can. You guys have a broad overview of what it is that we do. Just a very short little intro. My name is Sage. I've been trading for 12 plus years. Actually, I just hit the 12-year mark. It's going to be 12 years in like 15 days here. So I'm an option seller. I also do option buying. I do scalping. I've been doing a lot more scalping since I've joined High Strike, and it's been quite successful. Today, I had a pretty decent scalping day. I did scalp $1,100 today, so today was fun. Yesterday, I did scalp 3,000. I can share with you guys some of the trades that I've been taking and just some of the things that I've been doing. Be more than glad to do that. But first and foremost, let's just talk about the state of the market. If we're looking at some of what's been going on with just market overall fluctuations, as we're seeing here on SPY, there's a pretty indicative pattern here, right? So this is called a double top. So whenever we hit a specific level, it rejects that level and it has a hard rejection. In this case, it's not that strong, but we did have a rejection right at, I would say, the 477, $478 level. And right now we're trading at 472. So me in particular, whenever I'm looking at something like this, I'm always going to see if there's an abundance amount of volatility that's coming into the market or not. So we are seeing some of that volatility in fluctuation coming in. So if I'm looking at my broker, just looking in futures, we're pretty much dead flat. If you don't know what futures are, talking about the E-mini S&Ps, the NASDAQ futures, we also have futures for commodities. But for all intents and purposes, just to simplify it, for E-mini S&P futures, it's okay if you don't know what this terminology is, but we are seeing very short-term backwardation. So I'm going to explain this real quick. Whenever we're looking at backwardation or we're looking at just overall option prices, if we're looking at what the forward month is trading at for E-mini S&P futures, for right now, let's just say it's trading at 4,800. The forward expirations for the next month to month and a half, it's actually trading at a lower value. So that normally is going to dictate to me that we might be trading a little bit lower, or at least, not necessarily that it will be, but at least that option traders or just futures traders in general are maybe having a consensus that we might be trading a little bit lower. Now, going out further in time, the number is actually higher than the 4,800, which I was just giving an example here. So there's a little bit of backwardation, and when we're moving forward for our futures trades, what that's called, it's called contango. So those are maybe two terms that maybe you're not familiar with. I would highly recommend, I don't want to waste too much time with this, but I would highly recommend that you guys check out those terminologies. They're crucially important if you're looking to be a full-time trader or just, take this a little bit more seriously. Now let's talk about some of these levels here on the 30-minute time frame. So we did pull back here on SPY, right? So we pulled back, I think, almost to one of my crucial levels here at 469.50. So we almost kissed that level, and then we had a little bit of bounce, right? So one of my levels that I have for right now is 472. I'm going to see if we can either hold 472 for tomorrow's price action and then trade maybe back into about, I would say, 474. If we can't hold these levels that I'm looking to trade, at least back into the 469.50-ish pocket. Now, if we can hold that on the 2-hour time frame, there is another little pocket for us to hold. We traded down here before, but the 466, 467 level is specifically what I'm going to be looking for if we are holding one of these pockets. So again, we do have a double top here. Actually, we can even consider this a triple top. So we have 1 rejection, 2 rejections, and then 3 rejections. So if right now, I'm not seeing a very large load of volume. So what I mean by volume is we're looking at our volume bars here. I'm not looking at a very large load of volume where it is a clear indication of very, very strong rejection. However, on some of my momentum indicators, I am seeing that we are dying down, or at least not diverging, but we are following suit with some of what we're doing here on our RSI meter. I'm not using RSI to finite entries, especially for my shorter time frames, but I'd like to have an overall engagement of where the RSI is, because remember, the larger whale traders, the market makers, and especially institutional traders. Those are the ones that are really moving the market. Interestingly enough, the amount of long positions that we have been seeing in the market, especially before January, they have alleviated. So this is just an accumulation for some short positions that we have on SPY. It is more abundant than it was before. So really my most immediate target to the downside is going to be this little support area right here at 465. So I will be completely transparent. I do have a short position on SPY, and I'm going to see if I can follow suit with that. Now, if we do start trading upwards, right, depending on what Apple does, depending on what Microsoft does, we all know what NVIDIA is doing. I'll talk about that here in this presentation as well. NVIDIA has been doing well. AMD has been doing extremely well, but that's only one particular subsect of the market. We all know that NVIDIA right now is basically carrying the market on its back, right? So we're not seeing too much of a drift lower, in my personal opinion. I don't think we have too much of an undulation either higher or lower before we get something out of the Feds that is very clear and indicative that the rate hike is going to come at a specific date point. That's what I'm sort of guessing here for SPY. So now targets to the upside are going to be 475 all the way up to 477. And then we're looking to break all-time highs, which is right around that $479 pocket. So those will be my targets to the upside. Now let's talk about the Qs. Qs are a little bit more, I would say, a little bit of a hotter button, a hot topic right now. So if we're looking at Qs on the 30-minute time frame, really the most immediate target I have is 402, and then below that I have 395, right? So we need, what is it? We need a $12 move to the downside before I'm looking for significant longs on the Qs, so that's going to put us right down here. Now below the $395 level, I really don't have a very strong level aside from that until we get to about 390, but I don't really see us getting to 390, especially with how well AMD and NVIDIA and especially Microsoft has been going. Remember that the market shift from market cap, now the king is Microsoft, right? So Microsoft is there, it's leading the way, and Apple's kind of lagging a little bit. If anyone notice, right, the demand for iPhones has been lessening, and also they were just banned on their Apple watches. I think one of our alpha guys just sent us a message just now that ban might be alleviated here in the next couple days. So that's something to watch here on Apple. So for Qs, really my most immediate level is 402. Below that is going to be 395. Then I will decide whether I want to put on a long or a short position. I don't have any positions on the Qs right now. So as far as price action goes, we have a lower high on the larger time frames, 2-4 daily hour time frames, and we have not yet put our foot in the sand here for a lower low on these larger time frames. So we're just waiting for this level to start giving way. There is a little bit of a pattern that's starting to print out here, but I'm not necessarily thinking that this follows suit. In my personal opinion, I actually think that Qs start to recover a little bit, and then we start targeting upwards of the 409, then $411 level. So I'm looking for these levels to be attacked. I would say maybe not this week, but sometime next week. So that's my best case scenario right here for the Qs. So you have my targets to the upside, and you also have my targets to the downside. All right, now let's look at IWM. IWM has been lagging a little bit more. So IWM for me is at one of these crucial levels. If you've been watching any of these videos, I've stated that the $188 level was the level that I wanted to watch. So 188, and then below that, I have 185. Guess what? We're bouncing off just a teeny tiny bit here. So I did take a short position on IWM. I'm looking at my broker now. I'm up about 42% on that position, but I did get a very good entry. So my entry was all the way up here at 192. So I want to be careful not to hold onto this position for too long and be too greedy. I want to see if I can take it off, right? So again, around the $188 level, if we can retest around this zone right here, I'm interested in some continued longs. Now on the 2-hour time frame, if we cannot hold this zone, right? So this is what I call the breakout zone. So if this is where we're looking to find some support, by all means, I'm looking to take my long positions. We'll know that if we have more influx of volume. And of course, with what the banks have been doing, I don't know if anyone has noticed this, but Bank of America, JP Morgan, Schwab, Citi, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, there's a couple of them. If we just look at them, which we're not going to do right now, but if we look at them one by one, we started to recover quite a bit on all these stocks just for today alone. So Schwab was down almost 8% today, and it recovered a 4% drawdown. So I thought that was pretty incredible. So I'm going to be looking at IWM. I am interested in putting on some longs. I am short for the time being. If I need to cut it off for a 40% gain, I will do that. But if we start to cut a little bit lower, this 183 to 185 pocket is realistically what I'm looking for some continued longs. Now, if we do start to target to the upside, I need a break above 192 so I can target all the way up to 195. Now, DIA is a position that I do have actively on. I'm waiting for this 372 area to give way. If it does, for me, it trades down to 367. I do have an active position on this. It is up, negligibly up. It's, it's not maybe 10, 15% up on this position. If we do start to recover, I want to cut this position closer to 375.90. Excuse me, 374.90. If we start to break even more to the upside, then by all means, I'm going to be out of the trade already by then. But for me on DIA, we're a little too overextended. We have created a volume shelf or a volume profile here. I personally think that we need to start giving up some of these levels, even though I am long some Dow positions, right? So I do this very often. It's a technique that I use. It's called delta neutrality. So I try to put on some long positions in some places and then some short positions in other places. So this way I try to be as well-rounded on my portfolio as humanly possible. But anyway, for DIA, I do have a negative assuming position, or just a bearish position overall. So for me, my target for my position that I have is 367. Then below that, I'm not entirely sure that we trade all the way down to 360, but it would be nice for my particular position. So 367, I think I'm going to cut my win there, and then we'll just call it a day. Now, if we do start to target to the upside, the level obviously that we need to break into, this is just trading 101, is going to be the $377 level. So you guys have that. All right, let me go to the next thing here. I'm going to go to AMD and NVIDIA. I know that if you're watching, if you're rewatching this, because I know a couple of you have been doing exactly that. If we're looking at AMD from my vantage point is not really interesting. So if we just look at risk reward here, I don't necessarily think that either to the upside, you have a lot of potential reward if you're looking to chase the trade, because we're already coming up on a very significant supply level. So can we break this supply level, Sage? Absolutely, we definitely can. So this is the weekly time frame. If we pull back here to the monthly time frame, for me, I'm looking at something like this. It's pretty scary to me. I am one of those people where I like to buy things when we are completely oversold on something that I would consider pretty high quality. AMD is such that stock. So when I'm looking at something like this, even though, right, we might very well be pushing all the way up to the $175, even $200 level, this is not usually the point where I'm looking to put on long positions. Me personally, I know this is a sort of self-evident and sort of a little bit of a slap in the face, but if we jump back here to the daily time frame, I would have realistically looked to take this trade when we were starting to break above 130. So I didn't do that here at this point. I preferred to take other trades, but 130 would have been that breaking point. So for right now, this is not surprising, should not surprise anyone. Calls on NVIDIA and AMD galore. So yeah, I really wouldn't wish to short this right now, but nor do I want to go long. If we have a situation where we're pulling back to about the 135 area, I would consider putting on my longs there. But remember, for that to happen, we need a $25 move to the downside, and this volume here, if you're a short seller, should scare the pants off of you. So I wouldn't be doing that. So NVIDIA is sort of in the same boat. NVIDIA is more of a momentum stock than AMD right now. So just the dollar amount value that you need in order to trade these contracts is already quite high, right? This is not 5 times, it's 3 times the price, or a little bit more than 3 times the price of AMD. So should be self-evident that if you are trading NVIDIA with calls or puts, you should have a little bit more capital and be careful with your risk management here. From my perspective, I called this move, believe it or not, I called this move at 490. So breaking above 490, we were looking to target 510. That's exactly what happened, and we haven't given up that level since. So if we're looking on 2 hour, maybe even 1 hour time frame, there's a moving average cross that might happen that could pull us down to about 510 again. So remember, from 560 all the way down to 510, that is quite a move. That is quite a move that needs to be made, a $50 move. I'm not necessarily betting on it, but I'm also not necessarily saying that it can't happen. Me personally, I lost way too many trades on NVIDIA. I don't want to be trading NVIDIA for a long time. I prefer to take the easy trades. For right now, I'm not looking at any very easy trades on NVIDIA. They will have earnings here in a little bit. I imagine that earnings is going to be fairly erratic for them, like it has been for the last 3-4 quarters. So we haven't really given up any levels for NVIDIA. I do imagine that we sell off a little bit on it. But if we're trading back into the $500 pocket, maybe at that point in time, I am interested in some longs. All right, I'm going to talk just about a couple of other stocks, and then I'll leave the floor open. It's okay if we don't have anyone here for the presentation. I'll be here. I'll hang out for maybe about 30 seconds to a minute. So if anyone has any questions on any additional things that y'all want me to go over, I'd be more than glad to do that. So we'll do Tesla. Tesla's a big one for me. So Tesla, I mentioned quite a few times that I was looking for this to trade down to 215. I've said it in this presentation as well. We're at 215. We've actually broken below that. I'm going to wait for Tesla to target down to about 195. I don't want to take this in this arbitrary little level. I would prefer to wait for buyers to start stepping in. That's not the case now. And I know that there was a scalping opportunity here for Tesla today. Now, I'm not really interested in sort of this kind of setup because it doesn't move enough for the positions that I like to take. It's already selling off a little bit here. So I'm looking at an abundant amount of short positions that have come in on Tesla for a numerous amount of reasons, mainly because the stock right now doesn't look like it's reaching an upheaval. And if anyone has been following just the overall stock market news that we're getting out of China, China's a big market for Tesla. So news hasn't been great at all, right? So there's a lot of asset allocation out in China for Tesla. So that might be one of the reasons why this has been pulling back the way it has. So anyway, on the daily time frame, 195 should be our pocket area. And then incrementally, I don't know if we get down this low, but 180 is a level that I'll be watching. But I am highly interested in catching this long. For right now, for me, Tesla is a short position down to at least the 206, 205 area. So there's Tesla, guys. All right, I'm going to talk about just two other positions that I want you guys to be made aware of. First position I want to bring to your attention is Lululemon. So Lululemon, I did short just about this area right here. I shorted it roughly at about 480. I'm waiting for Lululemon to trade down to about 450. If it can hold 450, I do think that Lululemon trades maybe down to about 410. So I'm going to be watching that. So that is one heck of a move to the downside, right? So Lululemon to the downside for me. Those are my targets. I do not have any targets to the upside. If that is the case, if we do start to round up to a double top on Lululemon, at this point in time, I would cut my trade roughly at about 490. My short strike on this is either 480 or 475. I can't remember. I have to look in the broker. But anyway, if we do start to curl up to the upside, around the 500, 510 level is where I'm going to be looking for a reaction again, just for us to see if we can catch another short position on this. So Lululemon for me is still a little bit of move to the downside, right? And then additionally on top of this, if we're looking at things that are like let's say a green apple and a red apple, because these are not identical companies, but they do trade in the same space and they do affect one another. Nike for me is the trade that I missed. I'm so mad that I didn't catch this trade because this was in one of my two zones right here. So Nike had a sell-off because of an earnings catalyst, and then it just has not recovered. For me, I've been talking about Nike at the 95 area at about a year and a half, if y'all can believe that or not. So for a year and a half, I've wanted to get into this. I want to get in it roughly around the $95 area. So our last low was right at that $91, $92 level. So this is the weekly time frame here. For me, $82, if Nike were to see something around that $85 pocket, I would probably put quite a bit of money into this and just, hold on to it for a little while. I would do this via put credit spread position, or I would even look to do some shares on this bad boy. So I'm not necessarily looking for that quite yet, but the lower this goes, the more interested I am in taking this trade. A little bit more longer term position, not so much for a scalping perspective, but nonetheless, I wanted to bring it up in this presentation. All right, so there's Nike. Those are the stocks that I wanted to go over, right? So we went over SPY, Qs, Diamonds, IWM. We went over Tesla. We went over NVIDIA, AMD. We did go over Nike and Lulu. Those are sort of the things that I'm looking for the next couple of days. More so the positions that I've showed you. I can open up the floor if you all want to talk about any additional stocks. For right now, there's not really anything that I want to point out in terms of trades that I've taken. Today, I did make $1,100 on some scalping positions, but there's nothing really to cry home about. So what I did is I took two long positions. I took a long position at open today. And then I also took a very, very, very small long position here. As soon as I started seeing that we were rejecting one of our levels right here, I took off my position. And this was only maybe a 20% gain, but I made the majority of my money with this position that I took long right here. I got my moving average cross, which is always what it is that I'm looking for. But for right now, the momentum on the larger time frames, the 31 hour, 2 hour time frame, it's very clearly to the downside. So I didn't want to really push my luck here. I'm going to be looking for more significant positions off of bounce areas. The closer we get to about 466, 467, from there I'm looking to maybe even swing some positions. So I'll just leave it at that. Does anyone have any questions before, we call it a timeout here? I'm going to open up here. there's a little bit of lag of the video, so by the time you guys, listen or, hear me ask about the comment section, maybe 15 seconds is going to go by. All right, guys, we're going to call it a day. Really, really effective session. A lot of little tinkers and little bits of information. You want me to talk about AI? I don't think I understand your question. AI is the thing right now. AI is the reason why NVIDIA and AMD and a few other stocks are trading the way that they are. And specifically Microsoft. Microsoft is investing a buttload of money in the AI space. So that's why they're actually winning. They're beating Apple for the first time in, I would say, the last 12 to 13 years. Actually, I don't think I have too much information on clean AI. I think I need to educate myself a little bit better. The thing that I've been more so monitoring is the AI space that we have out of Microsoft, also Google. Google has been quite interesting as well. And some of the updates that we have just coming out of OpenAI. I don't really have too much to comment in terms of clean AI. Again, I need to educate myself into exactly what that is. But if you've been trading any AI stocks, I would only be waiting for healthy pullbacks. I think I said that here on NVIDIA. NVIDIA is literally the leader. It is the leading company in the world. There are no questions about it. It is the leading company in the world. You're just waiting on a pullback. For me, that pullback needs to be more significant. I've lost the last 6 trades that I've tried on NVIDIA because it's always trading out of the ranges that I give it. So for me, 510 needs to be the level. No worries. Okay. Does anyone have any additional questions or stocks that you would like me to go over? I'd be more than glad to talk about any long-term positions, scalping positions, or just any questions in general about trading. I'd be more than glad to go over that with you guys. Just let me know. I know it takes a little while for my question to reach you guys, but I'll read it here in the chat if it's there. Never mind my musical choices here. All right, guys, we're gonna call this. Here, right? We're gonna end the session. I will be on tomorrow. Anyone else wants to go over some stocks or just talk about certain things that you're interested in learning or just looking at, let me know for tomorrow's session. But I appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see each other in the next session, guys. Everyone have a great night. Okay.